GSMC Football Podcast, of course, in the GSMC Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows. I am your host, Mark Souza, and with me, of course, is the biggest Alabama Crimson Tide fan that I know, Jeff Malinoff.
First of all, I'm an Arizona fan because that's my college.
And they never play in anything that
They
matters.
were in the Fiesta Bowl in my freshman year.
How'd they do?
They lost at the last second because our quarterbacks went down instead of throwing the ball away like a moron.
You lost because you're a Pac-12 team.
That's not true at all. We lost to what? What?
Well, I mean, it is true. You're a Pac-12 team. But
yes, it's not true that because we're a Pac-12 team.
I disagree.
Well,
however, let's move on.
Where's your college? Do they play at all?
Undefeated since 1987.
Because they haven't had a football team since 1987.
We're going to move on to actual teams that matter, and we're going to talk about the Natty, the national championship last night in the first segment. A lot to unpack from this game. And then in segment 2, we're going to talk about some news and notes in the NFL in the last 24 hours or so. A possible coach signing. We're not sure. It's not official yet.
They used to play dodgeball for the ADAA.
Don't think that's true, but I see what you did there.
Yeah, you did.
We're also going to talk about later on in the show, we're going to talk about how the odds were for some of these NFL teams that are still in the dance. Which teams had the longest shot of making it to the Super Bowl? Of course, we're not there yet, but it's nice to take a look at what people thought, 3-4 months ago and see how everything has changed.
We'll have them as of January. They're the January odds, which is off season, so it's perfect.
Okay, so last year at this time?
I'm sorry, July.
July.
Excuse me,
so the off season 6 months ago. Okay.
Excuse me, that was
no problem. You're excused.
Thank you.
Did you fart?
No.
Oh, you said excuse
I was saying
me.
excuse me for getting it incorrect.
I thought you farted.
I didn't fart.
We'll also talk about on this day in the NFL later on in the show and a funny radio fail in the great state of Alabama. So let's get down to it. Clemson destroys Alabama. The Tide was rolled, my
I feel like it
friend.
was more than destroyed. It was a statement made.
In fact, Dabo Swinney, Clemson coach, said after the game.
No, I'm kidding.
He said after the game that this team has to be regarded as one of the best ever. Do you agree with that?
They ended undefeated. They beat the number one team in the nation by a landslide. So maybe it's debatable.
It's hard to say he's wrong, right?
Yeah, it's.
I
really
mean,
hard
even
to
if
say
you
it's wrong.
think that you don't agree, it's hard to say that they don't have the credentials to say that because they certainly do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So,
but again, we do have to see how these players do in the NFL. Then we can compare them because a lot of teams you compare as the greatest ever had great NFL players on their team.
It's funny you mentioned that because I heard a few people say that there could be up to as many as 40 first-round picks that were dressed and played last night from both teams, combined.
For the next couple of years, obviously.
Right, obviously.
There's no 40 first-round picks in one season.
Well, there's not even 40 NFL teams, so it'd be hard to have 40 first-round picks. You know what I'm
32,
saying?
so we just need 8 more expansion teams.
Mm-hmm.
Quick, where would you put 8 expansion teams? Go.
Mexico City, London, Montreal, Vancouver.
That's 4.
Boise.
Toronto.
Yeah.
That's 6.
Toronto, yeah, 6.
Boise, really?
Yeah.
All right.
I'd probably put one in...
I'm trying.
This is hard.
We need 2 more. Let's put 2 more in England so we have a division there with Montreal. So France and... Okay, fine.
Maybe in Oklahoma City.
No way.
Definitely St. Louis.
Yes. So that's 7. We need one more.
Why can't?
Let's just move another one to Oakland, and
No.
since one's going to Vegas already, why not? You pissed
failed
off our
twice.
Oakland fan base. It didn't fail.
We didn't piss off the Oakland fan base because they're all going to be Raiders fans still. Most of them.
If there was a new franchise coming to Oakland, you don't think they'll be loyal to that team?
Sure, there would, but it wouldn't work.
Why wouldn't it work? There's no
Because
reason why
I
it
think
wouldn't
I think the fan base is too split. But let's just talk about college football.
work. Okay.
All right, Clemson, they destroy Alabama. It was a close game early. Back and forth scoring, pick 6 right away. Tua gets picked off.
You know what was funny about that play? My dad was like, "He's playing. He looks like he's going to be a great player." As soon as my dad said that, pick 6. My dad jinxed him big time.
The DB definitely read that and broke hard on the ball. Picked it off, took it to the house. Bama down early, but they come right back. They score a touchdown of their own. A big play the other way. 62-yard touchdown pass from Tua. So he comes right back. He leads the team right back on the field. They get a touchdown within a minute and a half later. But then Clemson, they score 3 touchdowns in the first 5 minutes of this game. And we're thinking, oh, man, this is going to be a classic. This is going to be a 51-45, 41-40 type of barn burner game.
68-67 type. I would not have been surprised.
And then just 4 minutes later at the 6-minute mark in the first quarter, a touchdown by Bama, which we thought was going to tie the game, but they end up missing the PAT.
I was like, I looked up, I looked down for 2 seconds, all of a sudden I see it hit the goalpost. I'm like, what the heck just happened?
You're thinking, oh, he must have watched the Bears game the other night.
Oh, too soon.
So, 14-13, still we're thinking, okay, this is a high-scoring game. Beginning of the second quarter, Alabama kicks a field goal to make it 16-14. That was the last time that Alabama would score a point in this game. If I would have told you that,
that's incredible.
If I would have told you that when it happened, I wonder what kind of odds I could have got.
I would laugh in your face.
Mm-hmm.
I would have just straight up laughed in your face.
Clemson would go on to score 5 consecutive times, 4 touchdowns. Travis Etienne had a huge, huge night. He scored, 3 touchdowns? We had Justin Ross with a long touchdown pass. We saw Alabama maybe have the worst fake field goal you've ever seen. One of them.
When your lead blocker's your kicker, that's a failure.
I want to know who called the 4th and 8 fake field goal run up the middle with your holder play.
Marvin Lewis, I don't know. Hugh Jackson. That sounds like a Hugh Jackson thing.
We cannot confirm or deny that Marvin Lewis was a part of this play call.
It is true. But, man, whoever did that was desperate to get something going, and it just – as soon as I saw that play, I left the room. I was like, this game's over.
So it's funny in college football how things can change really quickly. This time last year, we were talking about Tua being maybe the best quarterback in college football, maybe the brightest star in the making at Alabama, maybe the best quarterback prospect in the future for the NFL. And now, Jeff, the whole talk is how good is Trevor Lawrence? Will he be the next superstar quarterback in the NFL? Will a team give up 3, 4, 5 first-round picks to draft this guy one day? What is your takeaway from last night, Trevor Lawrence and his future?
He's going to be a first-round pick. He might even be the first overall pick when he's going into it.
And crazy enough, that cannot be for at least another 2 seasons. He will have to play 2 full more seasons before he can even go to the NFL draft. Isn't that crazy?
He's a sophomore, correct?
He's a freshman.
Oh, he's a freshman.
He's a true freshman.
Oh, and he won a national championship.
Tua has to play 1 more season, and then
Tua is the sophomore. That's
yes.
right.
So tell me about what you see from Trevor Lawrence. Because I saw a lot of NFL analysts, a lot of NFL scouts on record saying he can make throws that some current NFL quarterbacks cannot make, and that he is the best quarterback prospect maybe ever, and at least in college football right now. Are you saying the same things? Do you have the same sentiment towards him?
Yes, I agree.
So you're convinced.
It's hard to deny.
He looks the part.
Oh,
and that's really easy.
He's got the look. He's got the touch. He's got the power.
It's really easy to fall in love with a player like that when he looks the part, right? Because like when a player, especially a quarterback, doesn't look the part, we're always skeptical. Like Baker Mayfield, Drew Brees, when they don't look like a Roman god back there, then we always kind of, can he handle the next level? Can his body take the punishment? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can he see over the defense?
I think that was like a lot of people were mocking him about that. Obviously, he could, but this game, something rattled him. Maybe it was I don't know what it was, but something rattled him big time. Well, maybe it was the opening pick of 6. I don't know, but
yeah, in terms of Tua, yeah, I agree.
That's my main concern.
He bounced right back from the pick 6.
He scored a touchdown right afterwards, but he just couldn't get the job done afterwards.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy how things can change.
A lot of quarterbacks lay eggs in big-time games. I get that. But in college football, you do that, and you lose millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And he might have just done that. He might have just lost millions of dollars.
I don't know about that.
No, I'm just saying it's a possibility.
I think Tua will bounce back next year. They probably win a national championship next year,
Do you
right?
get more money if you're the first overall pick than you're the 4th overall pick?
Yes.
Then yes.
We'll see, though. I don't think last night changes kind of the thing. I think it just boosts Trevor Lawrence, if I'm being honest. Plus, they won't be in the same draft.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so, I mean, obviously...
unless he stays till senior year and then Lawrence goes junior year.
I think Tua will have learned that that's not the route he wants to take while he watches.
I'm just saying it's a possibility.
All he needs to do is turn around and look at Jalen Hurts and say, yeah, I'm not doing that. Because Alabama can recruit anybody, and you're always one recruit away from losing your job at Alabama, right? So
yeah.
Clemson, 44-16. Is that the biggest upset that you've seen in the championship?
In national
College?
championship alone?
Mm-hmm. In the Natty?
I wouldn't say it's an upset. I would say it's the biggest surprising blowout. An upset is like this team has no chance of winning.
They were pretty much a touchdown underdog. They were 5.5, 6
Well,
points.
this team was still very talented. It wasn't like this team came out of nowhere. Everyone knew they were going to be this good. So it wasn't like a surprise they did this good. It was like more of a surprise. Oh, they beat them by that much? That's the surprise.
That Clemson defensive line controlled the game, in my opinion. Like, Alabama ran the ball decent, but I felt like they were still the better in the matchup between the offensive line and the defensive line for Clemson. I felt like Alabama's offensive line had a tough night. Clemson's got some really good athletes on that D-line.
Yes, they do.
Although Alabama has... I mean, Quinnen Williams out there for Alabama. I mean, there's other players,
He might
too.
be going number 1, 2, or 3.
But Alabama's D-line, I think, is not as good as Clemson's, and that's crazy to say.
I believe they have the same number of All-Americans, if I'm not mistaken, or close to that number, based off their line alone. But, yes, you can argue that Clemson's defense front 7 is better, but you can also make the argument that it's the opposite way. They're that close in talent.
Does Trevor Lawrence look like an avatar?
You mean like the movie?
Yeah.
If he had blue skin, I could see it. And black hair.
Avatar 2.
And had black hair that can combine with a tree, then maybe.
You know what I find funny about last night?
What's funny about last night?
So after Clemson annihilated Notre Dame,
mm-hmm.
a lot of people were questioning if Notre Dame deserved to be there because they got beat by such a wide margin.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people said, well, Notre Dame, they didn't play anyone, blah, 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 but they actually had a decent schedule, especially compared to Clemson and Alabama.
Yeah.
They lost by 27 points to Clemson, and the whole talk was, man, they didn't belong in that field. They couldn't play with them. Alabama lost by 28.
Yeah, lost by more.
So did Alabama not deserve to be there too? That's my question to them.
Well, obviously not.
I
mean,
am
not that
petty.
they don't. Like, I'm double negative.
I am that
They obviously
petty.
deserve to be there.
But I am that petty, Jeff, because
You're petty?
if
You don't admit to being petty.
Oh, I am the pettiest MFer you'll ever meet.
What does your wife think about that?
Oh, she knows.
Is she petty also?
No.
How
She's an angel.
Aw, that's really sweet. But, man, she has to handle a petty
Yeah.
SOB? Oh, gosh.
It's fine. It's a character flaw. We all have them. What's yours?
Moving on.
Yeah.
Move on.
It's all right.
I have a lot of flaws.
See,
okay?
to get better,
I'm loud and obnoxious.
I would agree with that. To get better, to evolve, you have to recognize our strengths and weaknesses, right? It's the only way that we can adjust and be the best versions of ourselves, right?
What's
I
up
am
with this emotional
extremely
garbage
petty.
you're throwing up at me?
All right. But I am being petty because if Notre Dame, who was undefeated, loses to Clemson, but they didn't deserve to be there, Alabama, you cannot say one team deserved to be there and one didn't. Like, you just can't.
No, absolutely not.
And you can't say, well, Alabama won the national championship in the last 10 years, 20 years.
They've won
blah,
it in
blah,
the
blah.
last, like, a million years, it feels like.
Right. A million years. That's probably closer to what I said than 10 years because they've won it. Notre Dame hasn't won a championship since, what, like the 80s?
It was acceptable in the 80s. Remember that song? It was acceptable.
I have no idea what song you're
at
talking
the
about, and I know a lot about music.
Okay.
What song is this?
It's from the 80s, obviously, but I don't remember who sang it.
It's from the 80s?
I think it is, or maybe in the 90s. I'm not sure.
It would be weird that it would be an 80s song.
I'll have to play the song for you off recording, but
Okay.
I think you'll recognize it. I'm not entirely sure, but maybe not. I don't know.
Is Dabo Swinney the coolest coach?
He's got a cool name. I like his name.
Dabo?
Dabo, yeah. Do you think that's where the dab came from?
The dad.
The dab.
Oh, the dab.
He's Dabo.
I don't
Dab.
think so, man. I don't think so.
You don't think so?
So, is there a cooler coach to work for than Dabo Swinney? Yes or no?
I can't deny he's that cool.
He seems like a coach
like
that you'd want to send your kid to play for.
Yeah, and you can get a beer with him. You know, you can hang out with him outside of the football field. You know what I mean? Like you can, like how do I say it? It's like you want to go hang out sometime, Coach? Like that. That probably won't be a weird thing to say with this guy. You know what I mean?
I agree with that. Like he's the kind of coach that
He's a nice guy.
he will
You
will tell you what you did wrong on that certain play, but he'll also go have a beer with you and enjoy something else.
He doesn't have to yell at you to get his point across.
No, absolutely not. He's so refreshing to listen to. Nick Saban's very uptight, you know. Bill Belichick, very uptight.
Bill Belichick's not a good person.
What do you mean he's not a good person?
He doesn't look like a good person. You know what I mean? He looks evil. Borderline. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's evil. He's Emperor Palpatine.
Did you see that Senator Palpatine? Is that what you're talking about?
Huh?
Did you say Senator Palpatine?
Emperor Palpatine.
Isn't he a senator?
He's the emperor. He's the evil emperor. Lord Palpatine, whatever you want to call it. He was a senator, but he's known to be Emperor Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why you had to be so specific about that.
Well, okay.
Yeah. Easy.
Palpatine. Anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Dabo Swinney, coolest college coach ever.
Yes.
Maybe the coolest coach ever in any sport. Is there a coach that in any sport right now that seems cooler to you?
No, not really.
Yeah, I don't think so. All right, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll talk about the NFL when we return. But before we do that, I have a question. What would it look like if we all just listen more? Listening to audiobooks inspires us, motivates us, and brings us closer, and there's no better place to listen than with Audible. Audible has the largest selection of audiobooks on the planet, and now Audible members get more than ever before. Each month you get 3 titles of your choice, 1 audiobook, 2 Audible originals, and fitness programs that you can't get anywhere else. There's never been a better time to experience Audible, and now you can try it free for 30 days by visiting audible.com/GSMCbook, or get your phone out and text the code GSMC book to 500. Do that today and start your 30-day free trial. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. We just talked about the Natty. Now we'll move on.
You like using that word natty, don't you?
It's the Natty.
I know, but...
Not the Cincinnati, but the Natty.
Cincinnati. What about Natty Natalia? What about Natalie? Or
Who's that?
I don't... They're just
Is that a
random
friend of
girls,
yours?
pretty girls' names. I don't know.
It's a pretty girl's name?
What, Natalia? Yeah.
Okay.
Why do you ask? I
I'm
thought
just-
we talked about
I
this.
didn't. It's just you associated a name with pretty.
Natty. Well, is that a big deal?
I don't know. I don't know. Do you
Is
know
that
somebody
weird to call
named
someone
Natalia?
pretty? I don't know. Just calling someone pretty is not that big of a deal.
I'm just wondering if you know
Just being
somebody with
truthful.
that name.
Yes, I do. That's why, yeah.
Oh,
It's okay to call someone pretty. It's not
damn.
like...
That was like sliding into the DMs right there. But like podcast status.
I guarantee you she doesn't watch this.
Listen.
Okay, continue.
Listen.
Mm-hmm.
You said watch this. Listen.
Mm-hmm.
In the NFL, we have some news
Okay.
from sources. Sources say that Titans offensive coordinator Matt LaFleur, he will become the Packers' next head coach. According to sources, of course, so this is not confirmed. We do not know yet. What is your initial reaction to hearing the news that Matt LaFleur will become the new head coach of the Green Bay Packers?
I was incredibly surprised, actually, because I didn't even know he was getting interviewed for the job. Like, I didn't expect that. Did you? I knew there
mean,
was.
I
Like, I know
know-
he was getting interviewed, but I didn't expect him to be an actual candidate.
I knew that he was a candidate, and some teams wanted to talk to him, but I did not know that.
He was going to take that type of job
I didn't think that the Packers would offer him that kind of job
so
because
quickly, too.
We're talking about a rookie head coach. Like, if he takes this job, if he becomes the next Packers coach, he has no experience as a head coach. He was an offensive coordinator calling plays for 1 year. He was Sean McVay's offensive coordinator 2 years ago, but he did not call plays. McVay did. So last year for the Titans,
So what did he do? What did he do over
he
there?
coordinated.
Okay.
He also did not call plays under Kyle Shanahan. So he does have knowledge and has worked under current head coaches in terms of McVay and Shanahan, who he both worked underneath in their offenses. So, But yeah, no, I'm surprised, man. Like, you got a Hall of Fame quarterback, a guy who is said to be hard to work with, and Aaron Rodgers.
It's not going to be an easy...
Matt LaFleur's 39 years old, which is, 4 years older than Aaron Rodgers? He's never coached as a head coach, at least in the NFL, as far as I know.
Okay.
The Titans finished 25th in offense, 29th in passing.
Yeah, this is obviously not going to be easy.
I feel like this is a huge risk. So, I don't know. But Titans general manager John Robinson is believed to be close friends with Packers GM Brian Gutekunst. And some are speculating that relationship kind of bridged the two, the Packers and LaFleur together. So, Man, you're going from an experienced head coach, and I know that Mike McCarthy had his problems, but he did win a Super Bowl. You're going from a guy like McCarthy who's been around the block to somebody new. It's hard to say that it's a wrong move, right? Because we don't know, but it will be widely criticized, right?
Oh yeah, it's not
like only time will tell if it's a good move or not, right?
Yeah, you got to give it a year.
People criticized when Sean McVay was hired. They said he's too young.
And now look, they might be going to the Super Bowl.
Now everybody wants him, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
so
he's like the hottest girl in school might be single, and you're all like, that's what you mean by everyone wants him.
So moving on, Josh McDaniels says he's not going to accept any interview requests, that he will return to the Patriots in 2019. Further speculation into the fact that he might be the next head coach of the Patriots when Belichick moves on and retires. Considering the fact that he said this, Jeff, he says, I'm not going to interview for any job. I'm going to be on the Patriots coaching staff next year. He did also accept and then decline the Colts job last year. Is it pretty much, I don't know, like common knowledge that he will become the Patriots' next head coach? He's not interviewing to be a head coach anywhere, and he did an about face last year where he said yes to the Colts and then said, ooh, never mind, I'm actually going to stay.
Yeah, it was kind of weird, but I think it's meant to be that he's going to be the head coach.
So you think it is a common knowledge? Like, we can safely assume that McDaniels will be the next head coach of the Patriots at some point.
Yeah. I can't think of any other reason they would have him stay.
Do you think that Belichick might be retiring after this year? I know we haven't really talked about it.
I think he'll announce it at the beginning of the season when he's done.
Do you remember last year at this time, the speculation was that the Patriots all hated each other and that Brady and Belichick hated each other? Do you remember that?
Yes.
It was about this time. It was right when the playoffs started.
Yeah, it was...
It was all because of Brady's personal trainer guy that got kicked out. He wasn't allowed to be around the team or something.
Yeah.
ESPN did that whole report.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that was just trying to bring buzz that wasn't necessary. I think it was unnecessary trying to make news out of nothing. Can't really think of anything else it could have been.
I do wonder if this is Belichick's last year. I would say if it's not next year will be. Would you agree? Maybe Brady too?
I don't know, but I think in the next 2 or 3 years it's going to be all over.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think we already saw Brady's play decline a little bit this year. I don't think he can do it every game now from now on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he can. I think he can turn it on for like a game or two, especially in the playoffs. I'm not counting him out at all. In fact, they're still my pick to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. I know some people are skeptical about it, and I am skeptical too, but they usually at least get there.
But can we also put a big asterisk because they're in the easiest division in the NFL?
Yeah, but even in the playoffs, they still win the game.
I know. I'm just saying they get there based off a weak division, but they do earn the right to get to the Super Bowl. I'll give them that.
Absolutely. So
you just got to put an asterisk in some of their records and stuff like that, you know?
Cody Parkey's missed field goal has now been changed to a block.
Yes, it has.
The devastating way that the Bears season ended, has caused a lot of fans to be very upset with Cody Parkey. Do you think that because this change from a miss to a block, do you think that will change the perception of Cody Parkey by the fans in Chicago? Will they
with
give
everybody
him
else outside
of
Chicago? I would say yes. Inside of Chicago, no.
So you think the fans would still blame him?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Even knowing that the ball was the trajectory was changed.
Yes,
the accuracy was affected.
I agree 100% that they're still going to blame him for everything, but everyone outside Chicago will be like, "Well, it was blocked. He can't do anything about it."
Yeah,
that's all I have to say about that.
Sound like Forrest Gump, and that's all I have to say about that. So, Goose Island Brewery in Chicago. Have you ever had their beer?
I've never been to Chicago.
Yeah, but they sell their beer elsewhere.
No, I never had their beer.
Pretty good. I like Goose Island. They have a green label. It's pretty noticeable.
You have a drinking problem. I'm just kidding.
I do not.
I know you're kidding.
I only drink on days that end in Y.
Okay, then you actually do have a drinking problem.
Well, no, but it's true. I only drink on days that end in Y. It doesn't mean that I drink on every day that ends in Y.
I see. Because there's only days end in Y because every day ends with day.
What a tricky guy I am.
Yeah, you're so cool.
Goose Island, I bring them up. They're offering a heck of a promotion that I think a lot of people who live in and around Chicago will be interested in. In fact, I'm sure there's a line outside their door right now. They were upset because
it's like 7 a.m.
So you've heard the term of armchair quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Armchair? Like
armchair quarterback. What does that mean?
You mean like they can throw off a chair and...
No. The phrase armchair quarterback. Do you know what that means?
Armchair.
An armchair quarterback is a fan that criticizes, right?
Oh, yeah.
Somebody from their sofa.
That's more of a... I heard the phrase I usually use is sofa coach.
Yeah, so exactly.
Not armchair.
But armchair quarterback is more. I mean, you can say sofa coach. But I've never heard anybody say that. But it's the same thing.
That's what my dad used to say. So I was like, yeah, okay.
Well, the Malinoffs have their own way of saying.
Or it was a couch coach or something like that.
Maybe he was just calling you a couch surfer.
Nope.
All right.
I went to college.
And
so I can't be a couch surfer if I went to college and
what
I
do
have
you
a
mean?
job. I have a job also.
You can be a couch surfer.
But I have a job.
But couch surfer is
Does that mean
about
unemployed?
somebody. Not necessarily. Just means that they're living on,
like welfare.
The couch. Anyways, this brewery, Goose Island. Let's get to the damn story already, right? The Goose Island Brewery is offering free beer for anybody who can successfully kick a 43-yard field goal. Apparently, they are setting up uprights at their facility, and they will give anyone one shot at kicking the ball through the uprights. And if you do, you get free beer for a year. How awesome.
365 days.
Is that the best or dumbest thing you've ever heard?
I like it because they're like, oh, I bet you, like everyone's like, oh, that's so easy, but they're going to miss, and then they're going to realize, oh, it's a lot farther than it looks on TV.
I think they're going to be surprised by how many people make it.
I'm going to say 90% miss.
Yeah, but if 10 out of 100 make it, that's a lot of money that they're giving away.
But it's not 100.
Yeah, I would say this: if 90%, if only 10% of people make it, I think it's a terrible thing for them to do. I'd say if they can get that number to 95 to 97%, it's probably good.
I think they're making enough money for this they can do this without losing a lot of money on this.
What I don't know is that how long this promotion is going on. If it's for like a month and they just get a bunch of people to show up, it might be good because then it'll drive a lot of business to them. Mm-hmm. It is memorable, so I do like that marketing. Like, I think that's cool.
It's not going to be like for 5 months you can do this.
The fact is, two dudes from California are talking about it right now.
Yeah.
So like it already.
So
is
when's
something.
our flight to Chicago?
It's just like that means that like it's something, right? Like it's kind of an issue.
But
it's
seriously,
kind of
when's our flight to Chicago? We're doing this. We're going to record this, post it on our Facebook and Twitter and all this stuff, and this is going to happen.
I think we should do it. I've never been to Chicago. Like
I always wanted to go to Chicago.
I've stopped in Chicago like to switch planes.
Yeah, I think everyone has because West Coast, East Coast
at
is
O'Hare
direct.
O'Hare Airport. Mm-hmm. Shout out
to the O'Hare Airport, apparently.
Shout out to the Logan Airport in Boston. I love that place.
Shout out to Sacramento International Airport as well. Let's just go all the random ones.
Shout out to...
I don't like you, San Diego International Airport, for making me leave the gate and have to go back into security after I've already landed in your airport.
Whoa, buddy. Accusations.
No, it's true. That's a fact. It's not an accusation if it's a fact.
Relax. Was it them or was it TSA?
No, you leave the gate and have to go back through security. All the gates should be in the same place, and you don't have to go through security again because you already went through security to get there in the first place. So why do you have to go through security again?
How old is that airport?
I don't know, 100,000. I don't know.
It's probably that.
But I'm just frustrated about that place. It almost
You're
made me
still mad.
Every time I get there, I almost miss my next flight because my layovers are like 20 to 40 minutes.
Is that when you were flying to Arizona?
Yes.
So you can't fly directly?
No, yeah, you can't fly from Tucson to my hometown. You can't fly directly.
So you always have to go to San Diego?
I don't always. Sometimes I have to because LAX is booked or Phoenix is booked.
So
when I have to go
Phoenix,
to
LAX, or San Diego?
sometimes Vegas.
So you have to fly to Phoenix and then fly to Tucson?
Sometimes, but sometimes I go from LA to Tucson or San Diego to Tucson.
How far is
Vegas
Tucson to Phoenix?
2-hour drive, so about an hour flight.
It's
just a small city.
That's got to be it has to be less than an hour, right? It's like an hour.
Minutes.
It's like an hour flight from Sacramento to LA, and it's like a 6-hour drive.
Yeah, so I would say about 45 minutes.
Yeah,
but I
wonder if you even get to the top. Do you even get like full altitude?
Yeah, I've done that flight 100,000 times. Usually
I don't think you have 100,000 times. That's a big number.
It's an exaggeration, of
maybe
course.
like 10 times.
But I usually do Tucson to LA or Tucson to Vegas. Sometimes I have to do Tucson to San Diego because everything else is booked, and I hate it. I hate San Diego. And I texted my mom one time. When she was like, how's your flight going? Because I was heading back home for Christmas. I was like, I'm never going through San Diego ever again.
Oh, gotcha. All right, so the Raiders hired Mike Mayock to be the general manager, but report came out that Gruden has the final say. Are you surprised by this? What are your thoughts?
The guy that has a 10-year, $100 million contract I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah.
Not by a long shot.
I mean, of course he has final say, right? Like, it's kind of one of those things where
I hate to interrupt, but we have a new AP poll after college football playoffs. Would you like
official poll?
Official poll.
Please tell me Notre Dame's number 2.
Notre Dame is number 5.
What? Come on.
The new top 4 are Clemson at number 1, obviously. 2, Alabama. 3, Ohio State. 3, Ohio State. 4, Oklahoma. Oklahoma did not move. But who else was in there?
That's terrible.
Notre Dame go to 5. LSU to 6. Georgia and Florida are tied at 7 for some reason. Texas is at 9. Washington State's at 10.
Alabama should go further down. Right?
After
you lost by 4 touchdowns.
True. The biggest drop was UCF. Actually, that's not true. They went down 4 spots to number 11. Michigan dropped 6 spots to 14.
All right.
West Virginia dropped 5 spots. And everything else like Fresno State and Army went up 3 spots. Texas A&M went up 5 spots. And Kentucky even went up 4 spots themselves. Texas went up to the top 10. LSU also went into the top 10. And everything else is about roughly the same. But we're going to take a little short break here. But what would it be like if we all listen more? Listening to audiobooks inspires us, motivates us, even brings us closer. There's no better place to listen than Audible. Audible has the largest selection of audiobooks on the planet, and now Audible members get more than ever before. Each month they get 3 titles of their choice. 1 audiobook, 2 Audible originals, and fitness programs they can't get anywhere else. There's never been a better time to experience Audible. Try it free for 30 days by visiting audible.com/GSMCbook or texting the code GSMCbook to 500-500. Remember, if you want to try this Audible for free for 30 days, go to audible.com/GSMCbook or by texting the code GSMCbook to 500-500.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. We're going to move on to, we got to look back because a lot of times, you know, when you watch sports, even football, especially football, hindsight's always 20/20, right? Like, you're like,
I don't watch football.
Yeah, this team's going to be good, and then they're not. And then you realize they're not good, and you're like, yeah, but we missed all the signs to them not being good, and, you know, I should have known, right? But you wanted to talk about, you had an interesting idea. You wanted to look back from the odds. Was this before
July
the season?
29th.
July. That's right. July 29th. And which site are you using, or where is this article from? Or
This is from StatPost.
okay. So go ahead.
Who do you think was the number one most likely to win?
We're talking about NFL or NCAA?
NFL.
So this is for odds to win the Super Bowl?
It just says Super Bowl odds, so I'm assuming that's what it means.
Gotcha. Super Bowl odds, yes.
Who do you think's the number one most likely?
At
the
the
best
beginning
odds.
of the season,
Yeah.
I would say
This is off season too.
Yes.
After draft and everything.
I would say maybe the Saints.
They are 18-1 odds.
What number are they on that list?
I have to count. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Wow.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Holy crap! There was 10 teams with better odds.
Yes.
Can we agree before we move on that that's stupid?
Yes.
Even then, we knew the Saints were going to be good. They had Breeze, they had Kamara, they had Michael Thomas. They're always a good team.
Mm-hmm. But I believe they didn't make the playoffs last year. I think that's why.
They made the playoffs.
Last year?
They lost on that crazy play to Minnesota.
That's right. What the? Oh my gosh.
They were one of the final 8 teams.
Yeah, that is a crazy stat.
That is absolutely dumb. That would have been a great bet. 18-1.
Yeah.
Gosh, if only. All right. So the best odds. I mean, Patriots have to be up there.
6-1.
They were number one.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I thought they would have taken a little bit of a hit.
Okay, name the 4 teams who had 10-1 odds.
Green Bay.
No,
Interesting. Okay.
they're 14-1.
Philadelphia had to be up there.
10-1, right? That's 1.
Were the Rams up there?
10-1 also.
So that's 3, or is that 2?
That's 2.
Steelers.
Yes. You have one more team.
Chiefs.
They're 20-1.
Because of the quarterback change.
Yes.
People were skeptical. Okay. So they were actually what number? 12, 13, 14? They were behind the Saints.
12, 13, 14.
Gosh. So who's the other 10-1? Okay. Let me guess.
Who was in the NFC Championship game?
Yeah, it was Minnesota.
Yes. All right. There are 4 16-1 teams. We named the 14-1 team in Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Now name the 4 teams that are 16-1.
Chargers?
Correct.
Seattle.
They are 40-1 odds.
How about Carolina?
Carolina was 40-1 also.
Wow. Were the Cowboys up there? They're usually a little bit
The
overrated.
Cowboys were a 30-1 odds.
Ooh. Man, this is actually getting tough.
You got the Chargers.
How about the Texans?
Yes, 16-1. You have 2 more teams. If you want a hint, I'll give you a very subtle.
Falcons?
Yes. Yeah, one more team.
And you said it wasn't the Chargers, right?
It was the Chargers. You got 3 of them right. Chargers, Texans, Falcons. There's one more.
Gotcha. Ravens?
They are 50-1. They were 50-1.
I will say then.
Who had a good season last season?
I mean, Minnesota had a good season. Philadelphia had a good season. Patriots, of course.
Who did the Patriots play in the AFC title?
Oh, Jacksonville.
Yes, they are 16-1 odds.
Wow, that was never a good bet.
And
So where are the Colts? That's where I think you're going with this, right?
and I want to talk about the Raiders odds.
From last year.
Yeah. Guess
Okay.
what they were?
Really bad.
18-1.
Whoa.
They were ahead of the Chiefs in the odds. They were ahead of the Cowboys and the Seahawks and the Ravens and the Colts. And the Colts, but you know who had a lower odds than the Colts? The Bears. What did the Bears have at Super Bowl? I know they didn't make the Super Bowl, granted, but
they had a chance.
Had this. What were their odds?
They could still be playing if they make that field goal.
So what were their odds?
Probably like 40-1.
80-1.
And the Colts are what?
60-1 odds.
I saw too that the Colts were like ranked 32 in a lot of power rankings before the season. They were ranked dead last.
Well, can you blame them? Frank Reich was their coach. He hasn't proven anything as a coach, and they were coming off a horrible 4-12 season.
Hindsight, right?
Yeah.
Hindsight, because the Cardinals, we probably should have picked them to be the worst team, to be honest, but we all thought, Sam Bradford might be okay, and he was irrelevant for 15
Oh, you
games.
want to hear about the Cardinals odds? Speaking of Sam Bradford?
So who had the worst odds? The worst odds?
The Cardinals.
They had the worst odds coming in?
Guess what it was?
125-1.
Oh, close. 100-1.
Interesting.
The Jets and the Bears and the Bucks all had 80-1
Did
odds.
you see that Clemson and Alabama are the number 1 and number 2 odds for next year already?
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Because they were like Clemson's going to get a bunch of recruits after this championship win.
Who has the best chance of going back? Clemson or Alabama?
Clemson.
For sure. Have you seen Alabama's schedule?
Yes, but
You will laugh. You will
Lawrence
laugh.
is coming back as a sophomore. Even better.
Check that Alabama schedule, and then anybody
Read it off to me.
Anybody who says,
Okay, now I got to look it up easy.
I will. No, don't worry. I'm getting there. Anybody who says that Alabama or SEC teams play, I don't know, tough or hard schedules is a joke. Anybody who says that, because this is their schedule. They play Duke in Atlanta, Georgia. That's a neutral site. Then they play New Mexico State, at South Carolina, Southern Miss, Ole Miss. Then they have a bye week at Texas A&M, Tennessee at home, Arkansas at home, bye week, LSU at home, at Mississippi State. And before they go to Auburn and play in the Iron Bowl, they play Western Carolina on November
23rd.
They scheduled Western Carolina, folks.
As well as Southern Miss. Wait, they have to play them, huh? No, they don't. But
Notre Dame's non-conference schedule, well, they're not in a conference, but you know what I mean. They play USC, Michigan, Stanford, and Georgia next year.
You want to see the 2020 schedule for Alabama because it's even worse.
Go ahead.
USC against in Arlington. That's the schedule, big game. Georgia State, then Kent State, then UT Martin.
Tennessee, Martin. Oh, yeah.
Then during the season, it's just regular old schedule. But
interesting.
Can you believe that?
Unbelievable.
And they play Mercer in 2021.
Gosh.
The next time they play Notre Dame, like in the regular season, they're scheduled to play them 2028.
I will say this, though. After suffering this loss, if they're on the fringe next year, I think that their schedule might be a factor. It might make some people decide that they're not going to vote Alabama into the college football playoffs. Of course, if they go undefeated, nobody's going to care. They're going to be in, all that jazz. But it is something to think about now that they suffered this big defeat.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, we need to take a break. We'll come right back, and we'll wrap this show up. We have some interesting stories and news across the world of football. We'll be right back. GSMC Football Podcast. We'll be wrapping up today's show with a couple interesting things. Jeff, you were letting me know earlier today that today was the anniversary of an incredible play in football history.
Yes, it was the anniversary of the Music City Miracle. Today, on this date in 1999, we saw perhaps one of the greatest finishes to a playoff game of all time.
Yes. Who was it? Frank Wycheck who threw the ball laterally, quote unquote, across the field to Kevin Dyson?
Yes. Why isn't Wycheck a coach now?
Was he a coach? I know he was a great tight end. Was he the player though? I think he was.
He was the player. I have to look now.
And was it determined that it was a forward pass, like scientifically? Didn't they?
It was.
break
It was
down?
okay. It was. How do I say this? It was not lateral, and it was not forward. It was parallel.
So then it was a lateral.
It was a lateral.
Like the actual definition of a lateral.
Yes.
Really? They determined that, or you read that?
That's what I've seen.
Well, depending who you ask, because if you ask Buffalo Bills fans, I'm sure they'll be the first ones to tell you that was a forward pass, right?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, greatest ending to a playoff game ever?
It's up there with the 1 yard short, which happened weeks later, and in the Titans.
In the Super Bowl.
In the Super Bowl, at the Titans' expense.
Mm-hmm.
There was also
God, what a playoff.
the Immaculate Reception.
What a playoff for a Titans fan. You go through the highs and the lows, the biggest high and the biggest low, all in the same season, the same playoffs. All right. Did you hear the story?
All about how my life got turned right
No.
upside. Okay. Do you know how like Finn's friends
Yes.
there? Okay. Good.
In Alabama, there was a pre-recorded radio bit. I think it was an advertisement for a local sporting goods store. They actually had a scheduled radio bit to go on after the national championship, and the entire bit was revolved around the idea that Alabama defeated Clemson and won the national championship. In the bit, it says, get your national championship winning Alabama gear. What an incredible season capped off by another championship title. There was just like comment after comment.
That's awkward.
And it ran, and it was like at least a 60-second
How do you not
bit.
cancel that? After the 44-16, how can you don't?
Did somebody get fired for their job for hitting play and not taking it off?
Maybe they had no choice what to play because they already paid for it. That's my guess, at least.
Well, I'm assuming, yeah. I wonder,
where else could it have been?
Don't you think they would have just done like an alternate one? Like, hey, if they don't win, we'll play this one that doesn't talk about the national championship loss. We'll just talk about our sporting goods sale.
Maybe they were just as confident. I don't know. I can't.
God,
think of anything.
if they didn't have an alternate, that's pretty arrogant, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a big assumption. I know that it wasn't like Alabama was like a 20-point favorite, Like, sure, they were the favorite, but people thought it would be somewhat of a good game.
Well, because they've had good games in the past, so don't take this game for granted.
Yeah, Clemson's beaten Alabama in the past.
You silly gooses. Geeses. You silly geese. Bunch of silly geese over there. Silly geese.
It's an unfortunate situation for that store. I wonder if people show up and they're just like,
Where's our merchandise?
They're like, yeah, we heard you on the radio, idiot. Like they're mean.
They probably will close out of embarrassment. No, I meant just for the day, not the entire store.
Other than that, we're done for today. Please join us on Thursday when we break down. We're getting closer to the games. So we're going to break down all the games.
What games?
Now that college football is over, I think it's pretty obvious what we're talking about.
Maybe explain it to the viewers.
The NFL playoffs,
there
week 2,
you go.
divisional round. We're going to break down the games. We're going to talk about, we might have a coach or two hired before then. We'll probably have some more interviews set up as we're getting down to it. Maybe LaFleur will have the job for the Packers by then. He might be the first domino to fall, and we'll see how that kind of affects the rest of the coaching carousel around the NFL. Anyways, I'm Mark Souza.
I'm Jeff Malinoff.
And we will see you Thursday.